Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Art Therapy Thursday, and of course we have another wonderful Molly Harrison fairy here to do, and we're going to be working this with different types of pastels. So there's several different types of pastels that are available. There is of course the stick pastel, um, or the pencil pastel. This is quite literally just a stick of pastel pigment. This is a dry pastel, just like your chalk pastels. They can be moved the same way as the chalk pastels. I am actually going to grab some pads here. So what I'm going to be using to move them are these little pads. So basically I'm going to be putting the color down on the page and just blending it with these little pads. Now there's also oil pastels. That are, I have the Paul Rubens here, and these are an oil pastel. You layer them down with um, either a paper stub, or you can do it with a rubber mallet to spread it. There's all sorts of ways that you can use to move these around. You can use the nail dot tools, things like that, to get that to move around in small areas. Now, I don't typically put it directly on the page with the oil pastels, only because I'm afraid of it. Just so you know, I am a little afraid to do that with an oil pastel, but we will try that today. We're going to start with doing her skin with the oil pastels. So we're going to start off with this one here first. So we've got this one here, which is ultramarine violet, and we're just going to use a very, very small amount of it. And I'm just taking a little bit on the end of the and I'm just going to move that in to the shadow areas. Doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to move it around to our shadows. Now I'm going to switch you over to the close-up camera so you can see a little bit better of what I'm doing. And I'm going to zoom you in a bit. There we go. So the camera's not picking up this really pastel pale purple color, which is fine because of the grayscale. So I'm just going into all those gray areas with the oil pastel. Moving it around. Now to clean this paper stump, I have a pumice stone, which is just a soft pumice stone for doing your um, skin removal on your feet and whatnot. I like them because they don't completely tear apart the paper stump. They remove the color and a little bit of the paper, but not as much as the um, sandpaper does. Okay, I think I have all of the deeper areas done with the purple. All right, so we've got our purple down for our shadow areas here, like that. And we may need to put more of that down as we go along. All right, the next color we're going to put down is this one here. And I'm going to wipe that off. So this one is red yellow. And we're going to come off of that purple with it. Just going to blend that in a little. So I'm just going through and just going through the shadowy, the darker areas. So the areas that aren't completely shadowed but still have the skin tone available. So we're coming over top of the purple here. And this page might not be the best one for this, but won't know till we try, right? Now I'm leaving the brighter areas open. Oops, that's a glove. I did that wrong. Well, her gloves are going to be a bit purple, I guess, because that's a glove. So that's okay. We'll just do her gloves purple. My brain did not catch it. Coming into those areas around the glove. I can't believe I did that. Oh well. Over the shoulder. And I'm just basically spreading it around. Blending it into that purple. Like so. Now we're going to put that one back. And we're going to grab this one. And this one is light yellow. Is that the one I want? Maybe that's, yeah. I think that's the one I want. Yeah. So I'm just going to use the light yellow here in all the highlight areas. Try not to get dog hair in there. Alright. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of that. Actually, I'm going to see if do I have another pink. I need a lighter, a little bit deeper pink, but not a bright pink. Not really. Let's see this one here. This one here is coral red. It's a little better. It's got a little bit of an orange tinge to it, but it'll be fine. Just gonna blend that in. Just use your finger a little bit to pull it in. If you don't want to use your finger to pull it in, you can use this tool here, which is a silicone tool, and you can just pull that color in a bit, like so. I don't mind using my finger, so I've got too much there. I'm just going to spread it around a little. I'm going to come back through with the lighter tone and tone that down a little. Just because I put too much of it there. So just blending this in, moving it down. Just blending it in. Like I said, I will come back through with the lighter and put another layer of the lighter on. Just re-establishing those shadowy areas with a bit more of a deeper pink tone so she doesn't look so white. So she doesn't look so yellowy. The great thing about oil pastels is they are quite forgiving when you're building colors. So when you're adding new colors, you can build those colors up quite easily and quite forgivingly. Just going to use my, I have to use my pumice for this. Hold on a sec. Which of course I think I threw away the old one. I'll have to grab a new one. So the pumice that I use is called a Pumi bar, and it's just done by Mr. Pumice, and it's just a soft pumice stone. You can use it on your feet, you can use it on anything. And I like these because, if I can get them open, because like I said, they don't damage the stick. And for some reason, my pumice stone doesn't want to open. There. Couldn't get my nail under the edge of the sealed area here. And it's starting to really annoy me. Alright. I know I should have done this beforehand, but I thought I had one out. There. Alright. So if you've never used one of these before or seen one of these before, it's just like any other pumice stone. It's just a throw. It starts to dissolve as you use it. The more you rub stuff off on it, the more it dissolves. So this is what it looks like. Now it is a little bit messy, so I suggest that you do this away from your picture because the pumice stone does tend to peel off a little bit, which is normal. And if you're using a larger stump, you can end up with quite a bit of the pumice. Alright, I'm just going in with that red yellow. Just toning down that red a little bit. Getting some of that darker area. Toning it down a little bit, but not a lot. Blending it in to that lighter yellow area. And then I will go over it with the lighter yellow as well, just to blend that in. I think I want a little bit more under her chin here and on her ear. Like that. And then we will take this one, which is our light yellow again. Just putting it in the highlight areas. Like that. Alright, so there's her skin tone all done. I think we have a little tiny bit too much yellow there. Under her chin area there. So I'm just gonna pull in some of that red yellow a little bit. Like that. Alright, so there we have our oil pastels. I'm just gonna blend that all together with my little blender stick here. And we're going to use a couple of different types of pastels on this. Now, typically with an oil pastel, you want it to cure for a little while before you start using other mediums on it. But we don't really have time for that. So that's not what we're going to do. Just so you know. So we're going to actually start working with the chalk pastel here. I'm just putting this in there a little bit. I wanted that to be a little bit purpler, but grabbed the wrong one, I think. Yeah, there we go. Now you can move it around with your paper stump. Let's grab a clean one, like this. In those small details. However, once you get into your larger details, that's not going to work as well. I'm just going to grab a lighter purple here. Come down here. Now these are what I wanted to do. These are chalk pastel, so they do feel a little chalky on your hand when you're using them. So if you don't like that feeling, utilize one of the um, chalk pastel pencils. Um, there are many different companies out there that have them available, and they work really nicely as well. I do have a couple of different types of those. However, I didn't bring them down. I can grab them in a bit here. So, all right, take a brush and just without touching the area that you've worked in, just brush over top of it to wipe away any loose bits of color. All right, so I'll show you the pastels that I have that are in pastel form that's in a pencil form. So I have the Derwent as well as the Cretacolor. So these are both pastel pencils. I'll switch you over to the main camera here so you can see. So these are both pastel pencils that are in wood where you don't have to touch them. So this is the Cretacolor pastel pencils. Now, in order to sharpen these, you do need a special sharpener or a really good piece of sandpaper to sharpen off the edges here, and or a pastel sharpener. Now, the Derwent pastel pencils came with a sharpener that works quite well for the pencils. So it's a specific sharpener made for pastel pencils, and it works really nicely. So I will show you how to use these, how I use these anyway. I'm not going to use the Derwent, but I did see a purple in here that I want to try on this picture. So I'm going to sharpen this. You have to be very, very careful while sharpening in order not to break the tip of your pastel. I'll put that over there. All right, so you can bring it to a sharper point than that if you want to. You just have to be very, very, very slow, very careful. Otherwise, you will end up breaking off the tip of your pencil because they are a soft pastel. Alright, so I'm going to put this over here. And switch it back over to the close-up. And we're going to put this lighter purple color down here. And as you can see, you can pretty much color an entire area in. And then you just take your, I'm going to use a smudge, and just move it around. Now, of course, because I'm using close to a gray, it's a very light gray purple. It's not showing up as well. On camera as it is in person. So another thing that you can do is you can take your stump and you can blend it in with that as well. The only thing is remember these are a soft pastel. So you're going to have loose bits of pastel. So make sure that when you are finished with it and you're satisfied with the color saturation and everything else, that you take your brush and don't rub it on top, just dust over it. Another pastel type of thing that is available, of course, is a pan pastel. And you can also do this type of thing with a pan pastel as well. Alright, so I'm going to put this one away. And I'm going to go back to these ones over here. The ones that I'm using, they're a solid pastel. And they are actually very inexpensive. These are available on or at Hobby Lobby very, very cheaply. And you can get them to quite a fine point with the pastel sharpener. So I'm going to put this color into the shadow areas of the skirt. And as you can probably hear, it does make a hard sound on the page because it is pressed into a pencil form. It does have a bit of a hard edge, which is good because you can get it into these deeper areas. And move them around. Now I just blew off the excess because I don't want to blend that in to the lighter tone that I'm going to go over top of this with. So another thing that you can do is you can blend these color tones together. So you can put in your dark just like you do with your colored pencil. The only thing you have to be really careful about is rubbing your hand over top of it, because if you rub your hand over top of this, you are going to smear it everywhere. One of the reasons why I don't color with this media very often because it's very finicky. It's very quick to work with sometimes, but sometimes you can end up with more of a mess than you wanted. Alright, now I'm going to take my brush here and I'm going to dust off the majority of that, and then I'm going to take my trusty little fella here and I'm just going to blend that in a little bit. And if I find that I don't have enough down when I go back over it with the lighter tone, I'll come back through and reestablish that dark and build the color, just like you would with colored pencils. You just build the color up. If you want a very, very soft tone, you can fill in the majority of the area and pull that color into the area that you want it to be. I'm going to grab a pair of scissors because this is, actually I'm just going to grab a new one because that's bugging me. It isn't doing what I wanted it to do, so it's bothering me. Alright, so now I'm going to take this one here and we're going to fill in those light areas. Now some of these I'm not going all the way through because I'm going to be pulling that color into those lighter areas, which will help dull it down a little bit for where the light source is hitting. Just going to come down here. Okay, now before I do any more where I'm going to be rubbing my hand, I'm going to take my stump I'm going to move that color in to the page. So this gives you a very light, airy coloration, even when you use dark colors. And basically all I'm doing is I'm just using the stump to rub that color into the fabric of the paper. And the more color you have down, the further you can spread it. I'm going to zoom you out a little bit because you're not getting to see all of the magic. And of course it's not showing you the color right, and I don't know why, because I adjusted it before I started recording, which is bugging me. There we go. That's better. That's at least giving you some of the purple color. Hate it when I adjust everything. It looks perfect, and then I hit record and it says, yeah, by the way, you have to readjust us. So I'm just going right over top of the dark purple in the shadow areas that I still need to have those light areas in. And I'll show you why here in just a minute. Because like I said, we need to build that color. So I'm going to dust this off. Not touching the page, just pushing the pencil off. Like so. Then we're going to take, again, we're going to take the tortillon and just move that pigment around, rubbing it into the page. Like so. And you could leave it completely alone just like this and have a beautiful purple, really light purple, airy type of gown. Or you can make it deeper in color and add more layers. Alright, so I'm going to take that dark purple that we started off with, and I'm going to put the shadows, those really deep shadows, back in. Just the dark ones. Don't worry too much about anything else. Just re-establishing that dark shadow. Like that. Okay, and then we're going to just move that around a little. Now I'm not going to blow this off yet because I want to press that dark in and build it down into the light. So what I'm doing is I'm just pressing it into the dark areas, and then I'm going to gently pull it down into that light tone. And you can do this, do the light tone first and then do the dark tone on top. But I like the way that the light tone dims down that shadow a little bit when you establish the shadow first on the medium toned areas, because there's of course 3 different tones. So basically we're using the dark first as our medium tone because we go over it with our light, which dims it down, and then we reestablish our really dark tone with another layer of the dark. Alright, now we're going to dust that part off. Try not to dust it off towards yourself. Just dusted all that off in my face. Okay, now I need that purple again, because I missed a couple of areas. Like through here. I want to put a little bit deeper there, a little bit deeper here, and down there. And a little deeper here. Like so. Okay, so now we're going to work on this side over here. I'm just going to get that darker through that shadow area, blending it into that lighter area. Like that. Alright. And I'm going to do the same thing up here. Blend that darker in. So we're just going to take our dark purple here and we're going to blend it in to that lighter purple that we laid down from the other pencils. Like so. Once again, not touching the page except for where you haven't worked the color in. You can definitely touch the page with your brush where you haven't worked the color in. If you need to. Okay, so we're going to clean that up. Alright, so I'm going to switch you back over. And I'm not sure how long we've been running for, because my thingy isn't showing. So there we have our purples for our dress. Switch over the camera would be good. So we have a beautiful purple dress. And as you can see, it's got all of our shadow colors in there, and it looks like a light, airy dress, which is what we wanted. Now we can do the same thing with her wings as well as the background itself. So let's try a little bit on this area here. So let's do the pedestal. Maybe. The thing is that you have to be very careful of where you're working first. I work from the center first usually because it's easier to keep from touching those areas after you've put the color down. So if you work from the edges and then you try to get to the center, then you're going to be rubbing your hand across those things. So I'm just taking that purple off so that I can do the stars here. All right. So we're going to work, I think, in the center first, just so that we don't rub our hand all over everything. So I'm going to turn it so that the main part of the dress is upside down because I don't want to touch that. Her lips and her eyes and everything else I'm going to do with colored pencils because they're very, very small. But her little increments here I'll do with the pastel. And make those stand out a little. And then for the moon, we're going to take this color here. The one thing about these pastels is that they're not named or anything else. They're just a cheap set of woodless pastel pencils. And they work really, really nicely. They have a great amount of pigment. So you can get in and pretty much do anything that you want to do with your pigmentation. Now I'm going to go down because her wings are translucent because you can see the circle through her wings, so that means you're going to see that moon through her wings. So I'm just going to put that moon tones in there. Now it will be faded behind her wings because her wings, even though they are translucent, are going to be dominant because they're in the foreground. So the moon, though it's bright, will show in the background of her wings. So even though it's going to show the yellow from the fact that it's the moon or the glow, because you don't have to do it yellow, you can do it gray too with some white. I just like a yellow moon, I don't know why. Alright, so now I'm going to blend that in. And this is another technique that you can use. I'm going to actually use this. And as you can see, it's lifting up the majority of it and just dragging it in. So the stain is still there, but the majority of that color has been drug into the middle and is picked up by the pad. Now if you want the color to be a little more intense, don't put your arm over the area you just colored, doofy. You can go back over it and pull it in again. So once again, I'm just going over it, trying not to touch too much of the area that I've already colored. And I'm just going around the edges here. Now I'm going to put a little bit deeper here and a little deeper here because I want that color to pull a little bit further. Where in the wing area, I don't. Okay, so there we have our color down. Now we're just going to pull it into the center area, coating that with some of the color as well. And there we have the moon. So like I said, it can be very simple, very quick process. And we will see more of that as we do the background as well. Let's do her hair. I want to do her hair. Let's start with a little bit of orange. We're going into those shadow areas mostly. Try not to color over her ears. Well, at least I can say I didn't forget the ears this time. I just colored them orange. Alright, now we're going to take a yellow orange color. And we're going to blend that in. And right now I'm just going through and just adding the color. I will be going through and blending that in so that it'll disperse that harder color and soften it up. Alright, now we're going to take our softener here, our little stump, and we're going to move that around. Like so. And a little bit up here that needs movement. And then we're going to dust that off. And there, her hair is done. So like I said, it can be a very quick, very easy process, depending upon what you choose to use. Um, you can either use the pastels or you can use the uh, the oil pastels or the pencil pastels or things like that. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to go in the dark areas with this green. Where there's some overlap. Like so. Because we want the darker areas to be on the outside, because the lighter area on the inside is going to have some yellow. So as you can see, it does go very quickly when you've got very straightforward open areas. But you can also quickly do the little fiddly bits as well. It just takes a little tiny bit more time to do the more in-depth fiddly bits. Alright, now we're going to take some yellow. Just blew off a little bit of that green. Okay, then we're going to take the pad again. I'm not worried about the fact that there's yellow on it. I'll just use a different part of the pad. And we're just going to pull that outwards. Now when you come to those very, very tiny tip areas, just use one of your sticks. If you find that you've picked up too much of the color, just re-establish it and just use your stick to move that in. Like so. Because we want this area to be darker because it's away from the moon, we're just going to re-establish that a little bit darker in there. And we're going to blend that in. Now this is going to be darker because of a darker green because there is an overlap. So 2 layers of green will outdo the 1 layer of yellow. If that makes any sense. Alright, so now I'm just going to reestablish that green in. Try to keep it where it needs to be. And of course, the great thing about this stuff is that it's erasable. So if you go over the lines or if you move that somewhere where you don't want it to be, all you need is your mono zero eraser and you can just pick that all right up and it completely erases. Okay, so I'm going to just dust that off for that area. Then I'm going to move into this area. And I'm going to press that green in first, and then I'm going to utilize the pad to move the yellow because I want the yellow to be as light as possible. But we want the dark, the green, to be as green as possible. I'm also going to come back through with a darker green just in some of the really heavy shadow areas. So the really heavy overlap areas will come in with a little bit more of a darker green. Just moving those along. Like so. Now I'm going to dust that green off. And I'm going to reestablish some of that yellow. Just up to the edge of the moon. I'm just going to take a pad and just dust it down. Blend it in. Like so. Now we're just going to take a little bit of a darker green, a little bit of a brighter green. And I'm just going to put in those shadow kind of areas there. Alright. Like that. And I did forget to turn off the TV, so hopefully you guys can't hear that. Completely forgot to turn off the TV. Oh well. I will have to go through and make sure you can't hear it too much. Shh, nobody knows. Alright, so just putting in a little bit more green here. Like so. And again through here. Just making sure that we get a little bit of that contrasting green from the light green and the yellow on the shadowed areas, the areas that are looking a little bit darker. And we're going to blend it right in. So it's not going to show as a really stark color contrast, but it is going to show a difference in color in those areas. You'll have more of a yellow-green everywhere else, and at the tips you'll have a darker bright green. Like I said, I'm not worried about the areas that I get it on the page because I can erase that. All right, now we're going to dust that off. Like so. Now we're going to do the other wing here. So first we need the light green. And then we need some yellow. I need to be on camera just for the fun of it, yeah. And then we need our paper stump. We're going to move that all together. And because this is quite a small area, I'm not going to worry about blending it all in with the pad. There we go. Rub that darker green in. Like that. Alright. Now we're going to switch back on over to the full camera here so you can see it in full glory. Alright. There we go. So we've got the moon done. We've got her, except for her eyes and whatnot, done. Now the next area we can do is either the sky or the ground, because we're going to end up doing it upside down because we don't want to touch anything that we've already colored. Now I will continue this tomorrow on our Friday and have it all done by Saturday. What I want to do, what I am going to do in order to maintain what I've already done, I am going to spray this with a workable fixative just so that while I'm working on other areas, I don't corrupt the area that I've already done. We will continue to work with the pastels, whether it be the oil pastels or the chalk pastels, but we will continue to work with those, except for small details such as her eyes and her lips. Because her face is so small, those details are really, really tiny, and I need to get a very, very sharp point in there, and pastels aren't going to do that. So, with that being said, it will take me a few minutes tomorrow to do the rest of this, so make sure you stay tuned and watch tomorrow as well, because I have a special product that I want to show you that I did show yesterday a little bit, but we will be doing a first impressions on it, which is the Arteza Sparkle Glitter Brush Markers. So we will be doing a bit on that. I will spray this tonight, so tomorrow it will be ready to go. So we will do a second video on finishing this off. Alright guys, with that I want to say thank you all very much for joining. I hope you have enjoyed the video. I hope you have gotten a little bit of insight on how to use these inexpensive, I do believe they are Master's Choice or Master something or other, from Hobby Lobby. I think you can get them at Michael's as well, but I'm pretty sure I got them at Hobby Lobby. They are a great pastel pencil to use. They smudge beautifully, so you can definitely move that pastel around quite a bit. I find that they smudge even better than the Derwent or the Cretacolor. It may just be a personal thing because I'm used to using these where I'm not so used to using the others. Of course, you can get the Paul Rubens on the Amazon. They do come on sale every once in a while, so keep an eye on them. Put them on your list and keep an eye for those discounts because you can definitely get them really cheap sometimes. All right, guys, with that, of course, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. Not only does it boost our self-esteem, but it also boosts our analytics. If you want to join us over on Facebook, we do have a Facebook group. The link is in the description below the video. If you are on Discord, we also have a Discord group where we do have a voice chat room, a video chat room, where we hang out and we color and we do all sorts of things together. I also have a tendency to answer questions and give demonstrations on how to do things that you may be stuck on. So if you want to join us over in Discord, feel free to do so. The link is below the video. And of course, I am on Instagram, so if you want to link, friend me on Instagram, that sort of thing, so you can see the pictures as they are completed if I remember to upload them. I have difficulties remembering to upload things. So, yeah, with that, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Have a fantastic day and a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Until next time, bye bye for now.